Initially, it was all adrenaline. Sound cool, calm, collectible. The end result of panic is inertia. Screaming, flailing desperation, every turn a dead end, a reaching out toward death, a stop, a no more. And thus it was, scrambling into the dark. Briars are carnivores, clinging until the clinged can move no more, and death and decay slowly run decomposing fluids into the ground, and the carnivore is nurtured, like woodlands in a state of war, as I scrambled, blinded black, into the briar-bound, bloodied, tangled ditch, and held breath, until eternity might swallow me in a silent, masticating lunge, and the stillness embalm me, and this lungful, crushing chokehold of debris become an autoptic element in cause of death conclusions. As if the still searing, sound-splitting cataclysm of instant detonation, detoning defination, a ringing of all the bells of hell, and that screaming, flailing desperation, spinning me round in a descending spiral, as I scrambled, blinded black, into the briar-bound, bloodied, tangled ditch. And I, breath-bound, silent, durst move not, lest all the bells of hell return a-ringing me into that stillness that moves only with the revolutions of the planet, the orbits of the infinity of cosmic waves, rising and falling with the finality of a last breath, blocked with the debris of the cellar shelter disintegrating into the dust. As dawn broke and silence reigned, an absence of life, an absence of wildlife, a permafrost of crystalline emotion. Hands stirred, eyes shed bloody dust, and each breath cleared a little more. And it was the edge of woodland, and peering, staring into the counter abyss, no signs of nothing. So I slither, snake through, into a clearing and a hollow and debris, and now I can be out of sight, out of mind, out of my mind. You know those old black and white pictures from those concentration camps? Still pictures and moving pictures. It's how you end up when you're in a concentration camp. It concentrates you. You become concentrated. There's less and less of you as more bones than you knew you had begin to show. My winter build, in the clearing, in the hollow, with the debris, allowed me moments of empathy with the victims of mankind's greater powers, as I hid with nothing for months without knowing the war was over. And in the beginning there had been light, much as at the dawn of time. No control, no grasp, no point of reference, nothing to refer to unless engraved in a previous incarnation of this ever-present surreality. And this light did manifest itself verily as an instantaneous deluge of particles became the beginning and the end of all that stood between me and the elements, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. And light dazzled the night sky, hitherto masked by what had been my retreat, my all, my everything, my life. This light dazzling the night sky in split-second eruptions across this new reveal horizon. My life now the only life remaining in what had been, until this beginning, my home. And my life now become 1/5 of all it had been. Another fifth, half concealed under dust and darkness, lay twisted flat in two parts, a torso and a bone and a ball joint, formerly known as upper arm, and a pelvic montage featuring a leg without foot, another leg with kneecap revealed, and a stream of sinews, tendons, and bloodless vessels spiraling in static seizure, and remnant infant genitalia. No head, that must now be somewhere else in some other world. this second-floor paradise, now a ground-floor news feature image, and where she had been bidding goodnight to another 2/5 of all my life had been, she now lay, slightly fetal, all of her undisturbed. So I reached for my phone to capture forever that gentle smile, that soft skin, that soft skin, that soft skin. But no phone, no go-to, no haven, no world beyond, no memoir. I didn't need to test for a pulse, for a breath, a sigh, any sound or sign. But I did, and gently put my lips on hers, but passed no breath. And her lips were so soft, so gently soft, and so still. And the last of this new form rearrangement of a home we had cherished, nourished, wished for, now exposed beneath the scatter fire. As I inhale this heady mix of her last moment of life, together with ordnance and air without oxygen and particulate haze, this new form rearrangement sheltered nothing as I focused on her face to the exclusion of all else, to the exclusion of her body mass spread out beneath her in a morass of raw elemental components of mammalian function, compressed, stirred and centrifuged into a slowly seeping abstract of what I would hold in my arms nightly. And forever, it would seem, until she would slip away into her watchful slumber, ever watchful, lest a little shoal should turn over and awake and need reassurance in the darkness of the night now all around me. As the next barrage illuminates this newly Pompeii-esque cityscape, lest a little soul should turn over and awake and need a mother's reassurance in the darkness of the night, now, again, actually now, all around. Simulcast, shadowfast, shuddering, searing, dazing, disorientating, crushing, another close-by strike, and she moves slightly as blocks shift with this most recent blast, and a cavity opens up beneath, and she pours into the hole as if sucked down into the darkest depths of hell. And all that I can see of her now is a trailing hand, which I reach out to and hold. Such a frail and little hand, so light and frail, and I pull on it gently, and discover her hand and arm is now detached from all that was the rest of her, etherealizing into ever after. And all of this absorbed quicker than the next missile disintegrating its drone-directed target. And the twins, always from their first night of independent living, sleeping top to tail, refusing point blank to separate, and she herself quite simply asleep, sweet as a songbird about to herald the dawn, and he lying back flat, eyes wide open, surprised, curious, puzzled, perhaps just a little intrigued, and motionless, both quite completely and utterly dead. And is it me, this fifth remaining of that collective dream, that shall never share a reverie, wrap my arms around them except for this last time, gently lowering all that could be found of each of them into holes in the ground and covering them with dirt? And as I rise and live slowly into a detached oblivion, the heart rate tumbles and those rippling sensations of in vitro existence settle into the still surface of lake water, pausing patiently before the storm, far below, at the visual limits of these wide-angle zoom lens coordinates through which, still, I observe. A foreshortened figure that I recognize as my former self standing in the street that I'd been walking for days, It should have been one street after another, but it wasn't. It was the same street, everywhere shuttered or laid low. A wall standing 4 or 5 stories high, windows without glass, curtains wafting gently in the lunchtime heat. No floors either side, so much a cinematic structure it would have suited the portfolio of a minimalist postmodern cartoonist without a sense of humour. Weightless, I had within my reach the essence of an entire community recently departed to some other place, and my reach stretching from one end of this street I find myself in to the other end. My reach as detached as is my existence. And I dig my fingers into the warm street sand surface, right hand then left hand, and score the surface with the 4 fingers on each hand, and from the distance in the east to the distance in the west, plough each hand until they meet in the middle, somewhere below, whence I currently am present. Unsure of the 4 furrows, well met, where my hands have joined together, so far away it's hard to say if they supplicate in prayer, ring in grief, or grasp in desperation. The difference, it seems, slowly rising above it all, is that what I now see below is becoming just another series of targets, but in colour, without the crosshairs or coordinates, and transmerging into an offensive functionary. A head-to-toe inversion befalls me as I plunge down into the innocence of a family of 5 and flash-bang them into however they regard eternity. And I swoop low and silent and dissolve incarnate into a stuttering wakefulness and reach for this flask full of nothing and gulp down nothing and see nothing more, just an endless street scored with furrows as far as an eye might see. A film set for a post-apocalypse counter-vision clip where a neutron bomb has gone rogue and destroyed all the buildings but spared the inhabitants, who, however, are no longer with us because they were already atomized by earlier strikes. If only it were possible, they might return one day and be able to strike like workers, demanding they be treated like human beings. The field beyond the outskirts stretched out over the distant rise, with long cut stubble beneath the feet, stony, poor soil, occasional clumps of greenery, but nothing of worth to man nor beast. Men, only men, populated this field from all the way behind to over the hill, all running, fleet, but completely silent. Running like the wind, barefoot, light as a feather in flight, we acquiesce to the greater collective good, framed in pictures of family and friends, by memories and expectations, and the need to retreat, regroup, rearm, resist, prevail, and ensure the continuation of our own particularities. And over the hill, a semi-automatic rifle was thrust into my hands, and belts of ammunition, and back thumps and bracing talk about doing unto them as had been done unto us. And a village lay below us, and we waited silent until the night fell and the time came round for atrocitizing. The first dwelling, hardly a house or a hovel, a hut or a shelter, was barely barricaded as we burst down the door and executed the old man cowering in the corner, and dragged the young man of military age out into the street and held him down with foot on throat and slowly sank the point of a knife into his chest, just enough for that first bright spurt of blood, and drew down his pants and laughed at his genitals and slowly stretched them out and nicked them ever so slightly, and sliced his cheeks and lopped off an ear, and stuffed it into his mouth forced open with a bloodied blade, and he was more or less silent until that moment. We replaced the gag down his throat with his ear and then a testicle, and the mountains in the far distance echoed back his gurgling screams that all the world might know that we were here and going about our business. And to say we spared him would be a misnomer. He meant much more to us as a shrieking, trembling, screaming slaughterhouse than as a silent corpse. And we wanted him to know what happened to women who associated with the dogs of war. And so we showed him. The old woman first, she struggled like a fish out of water, flapping, a hand on each of hers, a foot on each of hers, spread-eagled in the dirt below the rusted roof, taking it in turns to evince gasps and gulping and groans, and a clearly expressed wish that her life might end. But her contorted frame of brittle bones and wrinkled skin, convulsing, was a spectacle worthy of its audience cowering deeper and deeper into the shadows of the corners of this miserable testament to the persuasive allure of absolute poverty. Next, you choose, boy or girl. Okay. Think it's a boy? Yep, it's a boy. Last one I'd seen near or so this size, age, form was my son. Where am I now? Is this my child? As he is pinned over a crate and worked until his life's blood oozes. Hang on. My 4/5 were my love, my love, my love, my love, as she oozed down that hole between the broken blocks. Shake your head, Avenger. Snap out of it, task in hand. Focus and perform, focus and perform, focus and perform. As his eyes dazed over and into the transportation department of life and death. Death is an end to pain. So above all, go close, but not so close that it is touch and go. Death arriving at the beginning of a ritual revelation of bestiality is a life wasted. A torturistic celebration of insanity at its brutalistic best cut short. And sparing those who await in absolute terror their turn on the wheel of misfortune, the sights and sounds of ritualistic slaughter. Son, daughter, son, wife, do unto them as they have done unto you, shoe on the other foot, shoe, as if. We're on to the young women now. 3 children suitably accounted for, and 1 child, that first, now with his maker, must be delighted to be in his forever world, so much sooner than could reasonably have been expected. But who dug the holes in the ground into which I lowered my loves, blessing them with my tears, bidding farewell with my convulsions, sucking in the rising dust, and choking over and over and clawing my throat out of its anchorage, my blood, my life's blood spurting in random fountain spray, as if some holy fluid blessing the 4 mounds settling into their newfound roles of to be short-lived monuments to us who had done unto us that which we would do unto them had we been so inclined. Driven by a self-defined sense of injustice, or, reasonably it might be said, an actual injustice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and my eyes are closed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. My eyes are open again. 1, 2, 3, closed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And my eyes no longer open. Vertigo is an imbalancing condition, rendering relationships unreliable. Eyes closed, eyes open, eyes closed. Reach for something to steady and reorientate. Let go, eyes open. A ship at sea with no option to anticipate the next pitch or roll. Dry drunk, steadying against the wall, hand over hand on the way home, and nary a drop of drink. Oh, my love. Oh, my love. Oh, my love. Death is an end to pain. All your life flashes before you. The hinterland, The hinterland. We're gonna sail to the hinterland. Words from a world away. Far, far away. And now for the women. Some fight tooth and nail, but that's okay. We just pull the teeth and pull the nails, a chef's special. Those who follow engineer a kind of silence which beats hard beyond the frequency range of human hearing, attempting to conceal a belief that to not resist will make it all easier. Who knows? Maybe they'll be shown some respect for offering pleasure as a substitute for administering pain. But, and I laugh inwardly to myself, it just invites other means of administering pain. With cooking utensils, rifle barrel. Go on, squeeze. Squeeze some more, squeeze the trigger. Well, that was a whole display of bits flying in all directions. So the next one doesn't know whether to resist, submit, or... But there is no or, no golden handshake, no control, alt, stop, delete. Creativity of itself is unlimited in its applications. There were 7 altogether, from the youngest to the oldest, in addition to the old one we spread-eagled almost at the outset. And as we drifted up and away from the battleground where only one side inflicted and the other side received with gratitude a level of attention none believed possible, reflections gently undulated in a river of blood. And I found a blue umbrella half broken by a wall, which overlooked the ocean bright beneath the starry shore. I picked it up and opened it and held it to my back and gazed upon the glory of the heavens' shimmering track. A midnight breeze came swirling through the oceanic sky and filled the blue umbrella with a crazy urge to fly. We spun around and lifted off, no sense of space or time. We rose up through the atmosphere and joined with the sublime. We hurtled through the cosmos like we were standing still until we reached the origins of conscience, trust and will. The wisdom of the ages danced like spirals in a storm of fiery bursting nebulae in a golden dolphin's form. Nowhere to turn, no one to turn to, but turning slowly and slowly around. Her face, the twins top to tail, the infant suckling on his mother's breast, and her gentle face and her lips so soft and so lifeless. And it's back again as I'm turning and choking, turning and burning, turning and facing face to face the origins of conscience, trust and will. And it is no more, this crawling, blinded black through clouds of atomized debris hanging like curtains before my eyes and under my eyelids, liquidizing as they squall into my windpipe and on and down into my lungs, bursting like rifle fire into the privacy of the source of all human life. This death, this scattering of the vital signs of life, willingly executed by the pain of having done unto them what they have done unto us, and there is no end other than the end. I am a drone, an eagle, a hoverfly, a satellite, providence, the scales of justice. Who will remove these scales from my eyes, that I may see the fruits of our loins for this one last time? A dream, inherent cruelty, fact checks on feelings, drowning all at once, suffocating and drowning. For a while I could move, a little, I could breathe, a little, but now this concrete tomb abstracted by the power of being has rendered me motionless. And this river closing over me, gently embracing me with its blood-red viscosity. This river of amniosis as I draw my knees up to my chest, and the heartbeat of my Mother Earth pumps surges of inseparability, and the umbilical tie to all that is and all that may be begins to wind itself around my throat, my choking, spluttering throat, and as I, bound so tight, fail involuntarily to break free, the blue, blue sky manifests above and all around me. And the sweet birdsong of some paradise or other lifts me again into this parallel world, scrambling blinded black into the seething ditch of slime composed of the excrement of every evil that ever inhabited the earth. And yet, I am free. And as you who sit within this conceit bear witness to this other world, we are at war. Inherent cruelty, kill or be killed, death, a stop, and no more. Having achieved my own sense of peace, my stasis is a punctuation on the journey from life to death, no longer paddling the rapids, the blood-red rapids, determined, desperate to maintain the status quo. Instead, drifting, some sort of vessel bringing me toward Valhalla. And peace prevails, dipping my fingers into the blood-red waters and withdrawing. The fluid congeals on my hand and hardens into a scab, and I peel away the scab, revealing a gaping wound underneath, which opens wide into a portal to the world below. And far, far down, somewhere, swooping low like a peregrine falcon scooping salmon from the sea, blood everywhere. And this open wound is pulsing, pouring, pumping blood. 1, 2, 3, close eyes. 1, 2, 3, eyes are sewn shut. 1, 2, 3, eyes are sewn shut. 1, 2, 3, eyes are... But I can glimpse an afterlife now, as my craft descends slowly through the congealing waves, and as all settles and life becomes eternal, present life calls to bid farewell, and here she is now, smoothing back my hair, and her gentle lips rest on my lifeless lips, and another booming resonance causes a settling of my cradle of concrete rubbish and rubble, and I feel myself slipping away, oozing through the gaps. But I leave my hand until the last to hold her hand and see those little eyes awash with tears, the twins, too young to comprehend, clinging to each other. And my infant child wraps itself around her shoulders as she holds my hand, and parting, I descend, but leave that one last part of me in her ever-loving care. And she holds this, my hand, as if forever, and it is forever. And I'm sitting on the bank by the rivers of Avalon, where we sat down, and yea, we wept, when we remember bombs and guns. Squatting on the bank beside the river, leaning forward to see my reflection as I did once, only once. I didn't mean to fall over, catch my head on the parapet on the edge of the bridge, and slowly, unconsciously sink down and out as blood swirled from the open wound, and others leaned over but could only see reflections of themselves in a river of blood, flowing from here to eternity, from here to there, from safety and security to all the reflections of this existential self-interest, this hell on earth. Not our hell on earth, of course, theirs, them, over there, elsewhere. For some of them, maybe all of them, what does it matter as I hang here, suspended between heaven and hell, and home is an invisible speck so far down, the planet Earth eclipses the sun and reposes in complete darkness. This extended momentary stasis, the final remnant of being, a silence so distant as to be an end to existence. And the final journey begins, accelerates, and beyond terminal velocity I plunge down and down and down into that destiny determined such a long, long time ago, but instantaneous, as this light did manifest itself verily, as a deluge of particles became the beginning and the end of all that stood between me and me no longer, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. And light dazzled the night sky, hitherto masked by what had been our retreat, our all, our everything, our life. The rest is now silence. The war was over, without knowing, for months, with nothing as I hid, with the victims of mankind's greater powers, allowing me moments of empathy with the debris in the hollow in the clearing. My winter build begins to show. You knew you had less and less of you as more bones concentrate you. You become concentrated when you're in a concentration camp. It's how you end up. Still pictures and moving pictures. Concentration camps, you know, those old black and white pictures. Out of my mind. And now I can be out of sight, out of mind. In a clearing and a hollow and debris. No signs of nothing, so I slither, snake through, and peering, staring into the counter abyss. And it was the edge of woodland. Each breath cleared a little more. Hands stirred, eyes shed bloodied dust, and a permafrost of crystalline emotion, an absence of life, an absence of wildlife, as dawn broke and silence reigned with the debris of the cellar shelter disintegrating into dust. Blocked. Rising and falling with the finality of a last breath, the orbits of the infinity of cosmic waves. Stillness that moves only with the revolutions of the planet, are ringing me, lest all the bells of hell return, and I, breath-bound, silent, durst move not. Into the briar-bound, bloodied, tangled ditch as I scrambled, blinded, black, spinning me and spinning me round in a descending spiral, and that screaming, flailing desperation, a ringing of all the bells of hell, detoning detonation, as if the still searing, sound-splitting cataclysm of instant, as if an autoptic element in cause of death conclusions. This lungful, crushing chokehold of debris become, and the stillness embalm me, until eternity might swallow me in a silent, masticating lunge, and hold breath. Into the briar-bound, bloodied, tangled ditch, as I scrambled, blinded, black, like woodlands in a state of war, and the carnivore is nurtured into the ground, and death and decay slowly run decomposing fluids, clinging until the clinged can move no more. Briars are carnivores scrambling into dark, and thus it was. A death, a stop, a no more, a reaching out toward death. Every turn a dead end. Screaming, flailing, desperation is inertia, the end result of panic. Sound cool, calm, collectible. Initially, it was all adrenaline. The rest is silence.